Hi everyone, this is Colin Tierney at SageWorks. I work in the marketing group here. I'll be introducing our speaker and going through a couple housekeeping items and then turning it over to Steve Pipe, who will be actually presenting the presentation today. Thank you all for joining us. It should be a good presentation. We've actually worked with Steve a couple times in the past, and he always gives a great talk and gets great feedback from the audience, so we really appreciate him joining us today. So to start off, if you have any questions at any point, there is a questions panel on the GoToWebinar control panel there and on your screen. So if you have questions about the presentation or about us or about Steve's work, feel free to put those in the questions box there, and I'll take a look at them and we'll try to get you some answers here on the presentation. If not, we can always follow up after the fact. There also is a handout section, so if you'd like to see a copy of today's presentation, you can see some information there. Much of the presentation will actually be done live with Steve on camera, so just know that you'll be wanting to watch him as well as take a look at those slides. We won't be going into detail about SageWorks, but I will just briefly mention that for folks doing business advisory work or business valuation work, there are two products that we offer that are both web-based technology solutions that help with things like benchmarking and forecasting and providing more effective services, whether it be valuation related or business advisory, really helping your clients improve cash and improve their performance. That's what we specialize in and what we've been doing here for about 20 years. So you can see since '98, we've been working with business advisors in a variety of different products and solutions, and also have extended our market to work with banks and credit unions here in the United States. We've been doing this for a while now, so we've actually received some awards recently as well as in the past few years. So these are just a handful of them, but we do like to, of course, share those when we have the chance. Also need to share a legal statement. We do this for every webinar. It's not specific to the content today, but just as a general statement, we like to remind people that if we're making forward-looking statements, of course, we can't predict the future, so I always have to put things into context. You can get a copy of this in the handout section if you'd like to take a read through it. So like I said earlier, we're excited to be working with Steve again today. He's a published author and a tremendous resource when it comes to thinking about how to grow and expand your advisory services. And so I have learned a lot from his presentations, and I think based on all the feedback that we've had, our audiences have learned a lot from his presentations. So I'm excited to have him here today, and you'll hear a little bit about some of his work and experience and also some of his books that he's written, so take a look at those if you have a chance. I'm going to now turn this over to Steve, and he will be able to dive into the presentation.
Thanks so much, Colin. As soon as I get the little instruction on the screen there, I will share my screen, which is what we're now about to do. It's a joy being with SageWorks and Colin in particular again today, so thank you very much. Hopefully any second, if not perhaps even now, you can see my screen. Colin, can you guys see my screen at the moment?
It looks good, and if you're on the call with us, feel free to put a note in the message box. Make sure you can see it. Looks like we're good to go.
Great. Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for joining us this lunchtime. It's actually 5:05 here in Yorkshire, England. It's raining outside. It is the summer, allegedly, but you wouldn't know it from the outside. What I'm going to be covering today is drawing on the research content from two of my books, and in fact, arguably even three of my books. The main book that we're going to be focusing on, and the main body of research we're going to be focusing on, is this one. You can see it on the screen. You can see it in my hands here, The World's Most Inspiring Accountants, which was published in 2016. But I'm also going to draw on an earlier book, UK's Best Accounting Practices, and the updated version of that, which is the red one you can see on the screen there, The World's Best Accounting Practices. Now, these are all case study driven books looking at how accounting firms across the world are creating extraordinary results for themselves and their teams, and it's that body of research that I want to share with you. But in this yellow book, which is the main one we're focusing on the findings of today, because its implications for us as advisory accountants are profound. There are, I think, 62 case studies in here from firms of accountants across the world, every continent, including, of course, North America, USA in particular, but Canada also. And there are 62 case studies in there of the extraordinary difference that accountants are making, partly as advisory accountants, but actually in much of the ways just by being great accountants, by being the things which, I mean, I'm an accountant myself. I'm ferociously proud to be an accountant. I'm married to an accountant. I came into this profession because it was worthwhile. I believed it was worthwhile being an accountant, and yet there was no body of research on the impact that accountants are making. And because of that, I think the accounting profession suffers a crisis of confidence. When someone says to us at a dinner party, you know, what do you do? I'm an accountant. We hope they hadn't noticed, and we move swiftly on, as it were. There's a lot of embarrassment, there's to some extent stigma, but even if it's not those things, there's definitely a lack of self-confidence in this great profession of ours. And I wanted to uncover, really for the first time in this book, what it is that accountants do that makes the greatest difference. Because if we focus our advisory services on that, then we're going to, one, make the greatest difference, therefore we can stand tall, but also going to earn more money in the process. Now, the stuff that we're going to look at, you may think, well, actually, surely this just applies to large firms. As it says on the screen, there's 71% of the case studies, 71% of the body of research this is drawn on, come from accounting firms with 1 to 2 partners, 1 to 2 principals, founders, owners, and teams of less than 10 people. So they are very typical of the accounting profession here in the UK, no doubt in North America too, and certainly around the world. So there's no excuses. This stuff does apply to each and every one of us. And the 62 case studies that we looked at there are 62 stories of how 62 different firms of accountants have impacted one client each. And what's extraordinary, just across those 62 client stories, the impact, the difference that we as accountants can make is profound. 19 of those case studies involved accountants saving their clients from extinction. 4 of them focused on new businesses, one of which grew to $3 million turnover in 24 months with help from their accountant. Those stories also coincidentally resulted in 62 jobs either being created or saved, all because an accountant like you and I stepped in and made a difference. They include sales increases of 33%, 169%, even $2 million. You know, a huge difference that we're making to the top line of businesses, a huge difference that we're making to the bottom line of businesses, businesses that have been turned from loss-making into profit-making, businesses whose cash flow has been transformed. In other words, our impact on our clients as businesses, on their finances, on the economics of our clients is profound, and we need to stand tall and recognize that and do more of the things that allows us to have that kind of profound difference. That much, I suppose, was probably to be expected, but actually what I want to just drill down into one of the case studies, one of my favorite case studies, and it's actually a firm of accountants who are about 5 miles down the road from me here in Yorkshire. David Miller is the partner, is one of the 5 partners in this particular firm, and the dream home in question on the screen there is not David's dream home in Greece. He lives 3 miles in this direction, but it's one of his clients. This client used to be in the business of renting projectors, you know, the kind of thing you plug into a laptop and you project onto a screen in seminars and so on. They used to rent these out. Now, 10 years ago, that was a decent business because the cost of the unit was expensive and most people didn't buy them. But as the cost of projectors has come down, that business was going nowhere. It needed to be repositioned and re-strategized and rethought through. And David sat down with that business where it was going to just go into oblivion because no one was going to rent technology anymore. And David allowed them to put together, as an accountant, helped them to put together both a strategic plan and then the business plan and the finances and the action plan behind it. So they refocused their business and became an event business. In fact, they called themselves Simply Better. And they went from around about $400,000 in turnover at the beginning of the story, and that turnover was going down, and they've now grown to something like $3 million. And the business owner is now able to live for 12 weeks a year on his home on the Greek island. In fact, he was able to buy a piece of land on the Greek island overlooking the sea and build his dream home there. And he puts much of that down to the input that he's had from his accountant. And in fact, let me introduce you to the business owner. The business owner's name is Chris Holton. He says this in the book, and this is a picture of him. "I'm no longer stressed. Why would I be? I have financial security for me and my family, a successful business, happy customers, and my dream home in the sun." And this is where I want to get to. In fact, I never thought I would hear myself say this, but the more I think about it, the more I realize it's true. And I just added the color there for emphasis. My accountant has changed my life. And that's really the key point. My accountant has changed my life. We as accountants can indeed change our clients' lives. And once we start understanding that and focusing our business, our services, and our message, our marketing message and the actual delivery of our services around that idea, we're going to have make a profound difference, and we're going to be able to stand tall, and we're going to attract more clients, and they're going to pay us significantly higher prices, and they're going to give us more referrals, and they're going to tell everybody about us, and we're going to be much more proud because we can change our clients' lives just as David changed Chris's life. Now that's really where what the book uncovered was more clearly than ever before, this idea that we as accountants can change people's lives. Financially, we perhaps might have expected that, but what I didn't expect was the emotional impact, the impact we have on how our clients feel. We obviously have a different impact on their bank account, but we also have a profound impact on how they feel. In fact, this next, I'm going to share with you in a second a screenshot, but actually one of the things that's different between us as accountants here in the UK and you guys in the States is that we treat our CPD differently. And I gather in order for you guys to qualify for CPD, you have to demonstrate you're actually paying attention by taking part in some polls. So at various points I have to pass you back to Colin, our host, so you can take a poll just to make sure that everybody's still here. So back to you, Colin, and then once we've done the poll, I'll reveal the rest of the content.
All right, that poll is now live. I'll leave that open for about another 20 seconds. Okay, 5 more seconds. Please take a moment and answer the question. All right, I'm now going to close the poll.
Okay, I guess that means it's back to me for the big reveal of the bit that I was just about to start, which is we looked at, and we might have expected that we would have a profound impact on our clients' bank accounts, but what about the impact that we have on the way they feel? In fact, we asked each of the case study businesses how it felt before the accountant got involved and how it felt after the accountant intervention, as it were. And this is just a screenshot from one of the pages in the book where we, on the left-hand side, these are the actual words that clients use to describe how they felt before their accountant got involved and helped them in a further way, often in an advisory way. They were tired, they were burnt out, they were demoralized, frustrated, overwhelmed, worried, anxious. You can see the words on the left. On the right are the words that those same business owners used after the accountant had got involved, after the accountant helped solve the problem for them. They're relieved, proud, secure, happy, confident, focused, excited, grateful, in control, they have peace of mind, and so on and so forth. Now, we take our clients on a financial journey, yes, but we also take them on this emotional journey that genuinely makes not only their bank accounts better, but their lives and their happiness and their frame of mind and their peace of mind better. And once we understand that more clearly, we can start delivering more of that, we can start explaining that more effectively, we can start charging properly for it. And that's the real revelation to me from these insights. Now I'm just going to stop sharing my screen a second because it's more interesting for you at various points as for us to actually sort of engage and us to talk to each other rather than me simply being a detached voice with a tiny little picture on the left hand side. So at the moment I'm assuming that you can just see my face. So far we've looked at the benefits to clients, but we also in the research for the book looked at what are the benefits to accountants when they start doing more of this stuff. And the benefits to accountants are also profound. In fact, one of the clients that we interviewed for the book said this: we now spend 3 times as what we used to with our accountants, and it's worth every penny, every cent in your language. That was an English client. They now spend 3 times as much because their accountant does this stuff. So the benefits to the practice are profound. Your clients will pay you significantly more. In fact, accountants said in the book, in return for doing this kind of stuff, we can charge higher fees. Another accountant said it actually earns us our largest ever fee. I'm reading off my screen here. And a third accountant said, this approach gives us a great reputation and attracts us a lot of new clients. So there are very clear financial benefits from using our skills with numbers as accountants in the best possible way, and that's partly in an advisory capacity, but also just being a better accountant, and you'll see the services in a second. Not just financial rewards for us as accountants, though. Another accountant said, it's so fulfilling knowing that we're part of something that's making a real difference. And one of their young graduates, one of their young team members actually made a point which really helps us understand how this can solve your recruitment issues. If you're struggling to recruit the right kind of talent, then one of the team members in one of the firms in the book said this: Today's best young graduates, and again, I'm reading off my screen, today's best young graduates want to join businesses where they know they'll make a difference doing worthwhile work. And that, he said, is why I'm so excited about building my career at a business that thinks that way too. So if you do this stuff, you're going to attract the best graduates. They're going to get the best people, the best talent. They're going to put passion and energy and enthusiasm into serving your clients. Your clients are going to be grateful. You're going to take them on a financial and emotional journey. They're going to pay you more money. They're going to tell more people. You can look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and feel proud knowing that you too are doing worthwhile work. I don't think the accounting profession really understands the power at its fingertips. In fact, I'll turn the screen back on now, I think. So you should be getting my screen again now. We don't understand the power at our fingertips, but so what I want to do now is to focus on, and hopefully you can see my screen. Colin, tell me if they can't, but I want to focus us on for the rest of our time together how they did that, what exactly are the services that are creating that kind of difference, and how you can use those services as the basis for transforming the results of your practice. Now, the really good news is that you don't have to be Superman. None of the stuff in the book, none of the case studies involve the accountants in question, the 62 firms around the world, being in any way Superman. They actually just involved us being good accountants, the things that I think you and I came into the profession intending to be. And one of the accountants in the book said this, and it's one of my favorite quotes that I come across in years. So I've cut and pasted it chapter and verse on the screen for you here. This accountant said, the point is that what we accountants see as fairly ordinary advice and support can often make an extraordinary difference to the business's lives and happiness of our clients. The profession has so much more power to do good than it gives itself credit for, and I agree 100%. And they went on to say that power is at our fingertips, and thanks to new technology such as cloud accounting and everything that goes with it, our power to make a difference is getting greater and greater by the day. And once we understand that, and once we harness that, once we deliver that, and once we communicate that more effectively, everything changes, everything gets better, and that's what's so exciting. And when we pulled together those case studies and looked at the research, we identified actually there were 4 types of services that the accountants in the book were delivering. In fact, that each and every one of us can, and each and every one of us should, I would argue, deliver, that make a profound difference to our clients and will in the process make a profound difference to ourselves. In fact, Frederick Reichheld once said, and I think these words should be tattooed on the inside eyelids of everybody in business. Reichheld said, and he's the author of the Loyalty Effect book and many others besides, profits are a consequence. Profits are a consequence. They're a consequence of doing the right things for the right customers in the right way. And when we do the right things for our customers, we will profit massively, emotionally and financially. And those right things are summed up by this acronym CASH. Core services, advanced services, specialist services, and humanitarian services. And I'm going to take you through each of those 4 so that you can see what's involved. And then I'm going to give you 3 key ideas that you can use to take those cash services and turn them into actual cash for your business, so you tell a better story, win more clients, charge higher fees, have happier customers. So let's start with the core services in the cash model. But again, before we get there, and these are sort of randomly as dotted throughout my slides, but before we get there, another one of these poll questions for you. So back to Colin again for you to do a second one of those poll questions, and then we'll drill into the cash model.
Poll question is now live. We'll just leave that open for about 20 more seconds. Okay, just 5 more seconds. All right, I will now close the poll question.
Thanks, Colin. So let's now drill into the cash model. And I'm assuming, Colin, that everybody can still see my screen. I think I am on screen share, aren't I? Yeah, I am on screen share. That's great. Okay, let's... So the core services, the C in the cash model, are those services that every good practice must master. In fact, arguably, you should have mastered them already. And if you haven't mastered them already, pretty damn quickly would be my suggestion. And then the A in the in the cash model. Advanced services will come onto in a second, but they're the things that you need to be factoring into your plans and mastering pretty soon. But the core services are the services that you must master now, immediately, and you probably have. But what's fantastic is the impact that these core services can have. So let's quickly go through those core services. They're spelled out in much more detail in the book, but they start with the core service of making sure that our clients have the right kind of accounting system, so they have up-to-date, reliable and accurate information, wrapping around that robust controls so that we minimize the risks of things going wrong in their accounting systems, and bookkeeping support to ensure the integrity of the stuff that's been keyed into their system or zapped into their system through technology and so on, but to ensure the integrity of the underlying data. Quite a few of the stories, actually, the difference we made was restoring order where there was previously chaos around controls and bookkeeping and accounting systems. So even our most core, our most fundamental services can make a profound difference. And then the next step up the food chain, as it were, a core service is management accounts, so that in addition to merely a set of numbers in a ledger in various subsidiary accounts, we've actually got them pulled together into a set of management accounts that give leaders the information they need, and decision support, so that information is used and understood, and the business leaders can use it to make better, more informed, more rational and logical decisions. In fact, taking that to the next level, one of the services that many people find extraordinarily valuable is a virtual finance director kind of service, where on top of management accounts and decision support, there's this sort of proactive high-level input. For many business owners, it's lonely as a business owner. They don't have a sounding board. They don't have a high-level finance person. And small accounting firms are increasingly providing that kind of service, building on the accounting systems and controls and bookkeeping management accounts, so that there's better strategic decision rather than tactical decisions. In fact, that leads nicely into the next core service that so many accountants are making a real difference with and earning real fees from, which is acting as a sounding board for ideas and issues and challenges, giving business owners either a second opinion or at least a second opinion to their own. Very often they have no one else to bounce ideas off. They're the top of the tree and no one else is at their level, and we as their accountant can provide a really valuable core service in that sounding board capacity. In fact, formalizing that, what many accountants do, and over here in the UK they charge between what the equivalent of $750 to $1,500 a month for a board meeting type service, where they attend the board meeting as a sort of in a non-executive, often in a non-decision making capacity, but in an advisory, observing, supporting fashion, supporting the board to make sure that issues are properly understood and prejudices are identified and sacred cows are challenged. In fact, in Tom Peters' words, sacred cows turned into hamburgers, and the management and financial information is taken notice of, and appropriate goals are set, and so on and so forth, earning significant recurring fees month in, month out from that kind of board service, and making a profound difference from that kind of meeting support service. And then it continues moving up the hierarchy, as it were, not only getting involved on a monthly basis with decision support and board support, but actually focusing forward on creating business plans that help the business owner move forward in a carefully thought through way, and then turning those business plans, those strategies, into an integrated set of forecasts, for profit and loss account and cash flow and balance sheet, to make sure that those business plans actually stack up financially and the business isn't going to run out of cash. And of course, SageWorks have a great tool that will help you and your clients do that kind of integrated forecasting, and it's one of those core services that we have to be on top of. And obviously a part of that forecasting is actually understanding and managing cash flows to make sure that we don't run out of cash as we grow and build and develop the business, and the decisions that it takes along the way are fundable. And that leads into a core service around helping our clients raise appropriate funds, finance, to fund their growth, to fund their investment plans, to fund their other decisions and working capital and so on. These are all core services, all things which are within our core skill set, but all things that make much more of a difference to our clients than we previously understood. And I think it's only because we've pulled together the case studies in here and seen the profound impact they can have both on clients' finances and on clients' frame of mind, peace of mind, state of mind, emotional impact as well as financial, that we can really start to harness these and communicate these more effectively and build on these and put these at the heart of what we are and stand for as a business. And that ultimately, of course, most businesses will either on their journey perhaps want to buy other businesses as part of their expansion plans, but almost certainly they'll want to sell eventually on retirement or as, for a strategic reason. And again, they're going to need our support around those buying and business selling decisions. And again, SageWorks have some great tools to help your clients value their businesses effectively, so they get the right price and understand how much the business is worth, and then you can work with them to build that value, to grow that value, to and then realize that value when the time is right for the business owner, which then leads into the next core service, which is exit and succession planning, so that they can get out of their business on the terms, at the time, with the amount of money, in the way that they want to get out, rather than just having to take whatever they can scrap around and get. Now, these are core services, and then wrapped around all of that, many of those things have tax implications, don't they? So the final core service is tax planning, so that we can help them drive down the tax implications, the tax costs of each of those other things that they do, each of those their other decisions and their results and successes and achievements, drive down those tax bills to the lowest legal, the lowest legally possible level. And that again can make a profound difference to their cash flow and to their income, their net income and their net worth and their family's financial future and their ability to live the lives they want to live. Those are the core services. Now, you'll recognize each and every one of those, and you will probably already be a master of each and every one of those. But to the extent that your firm is not yet a master of each of those, I would urge you to focus on those first, because those are the things you absolutely have to master. We should have mastered them already, and we've got to master them pretty damn quickly as an alternative. And where all of that gets us to, and if I were to summarize, in fact, the screen that I'm about to show you here, the stuff that I'm about to show you in the next 30 seconds, I think is if you take nothing else away from our time together, this is the bit that I would take away, because this is the bit that will give you a way of understanding and communicating our role as accountants in the 21st century. You see, I believe, and all of this research points to, this is an articulation of what we need to do as an accounting profession. We need to see our role as helping our clients have better data, and cloud technology and everything else allows us to create better data for them, more robust, more accurate, more reliable, more meaningful, more relevant data, and then wrap around that better data better analysis so that it's understood, its implications are considered. So as a result of that better data and that better analysis, we're helping them to take better decisions. And because they take better decisions, they will generate better results in their businesses. And that will allow them to build better businesses. And by creating better businesses, they'll create a better life for them and the other stakeholders in their businesses. And when we do that with our clients, one client at a time, across our client base, and when other accountants do that, one business at a time, one client at a time, one job at a time, £1 of profit at a time, £1 of wealth, $1 of wealth at a time, what we collectively create is a better world. That, to me, that schematic there on the screen there, that logical progression is what I don't think we've ever understood as a profession before. This is our role in the 21st century. It's to help our clients get better data and do better analysis so they can take better decisions, generate better results, build better businesses, enjoy a better life, and collectively we create a better world. That's what this uncovered. That's the future, in my opinion, of the accounting profession. That's something to get excited about. That's also something that your clients will get excited about, and they will want to work with you because you actually make that a reality. I would put that message that's on the screen there, that flows from better data through to a better world, at the heart of everything you do. Internally, help your team understand that, and externally help your marketplace understand that, because when you do, everything changes in their perception, in their excitement, in their attitude, and their enthusiasm. So those are the core services. Those are the things you need to have factored into your plans already. You need to master now or pretty damn quickly. So that's the C in the cash model. The A in the cash model are the advanced services. And these are the things which, whilst they may not, in the US at least, need to be part of your, you need to have mastered them already. You're going to have to master them pretty soon. You need to start factoring them into your plans. In fact, the research showed that there was a real difference, and many Australian firms are ahead of us all around the world, and they've already factored most of these services into their plans, much more so than from the research in the States or even here in the UK. So these are the things that, okay, you might not have mastered them yet, but you need to be factoring them into your strategic plans. And right at the top of that list of advanced services is benchmarking, helping our clients understand how they compare to others in their industry, because without those insights, many business owners simply are stuck in the mindset with a limiting belief that it's impossible to get better results than I'm getting. It's just impossible. It's impossible, Steve, to earn more than 25% margin or to get paid in less than 90 days. It's just impossible. And you will never break through that belief, which is a limiting belief, which will fundamentally affect their ability to see the bigger picture and make changes and strive to make things better. They will never break through that until you've shown them that it's not impossible. And you do that by showing them that someone else, others in their industry, are already achieving those things which they thought were impossible. And that then fundamentally changes their mindset. And again, SageWorks got a great benchmarking tool that will allow you to do that. Having then opened their mind through benchmarking, where that takes us to is, okay, benchmarking tells you where you are now, Mr. Business Owner, Mr. Client, but we really need a really crystal clear articulation of where you want to get to. What is it you're trying to achieve? Because we can't help you as your accountant until we have crystal clarity over what it is you want out of life, out of your business, in your bank account, and so on and so forth. So the second advanced service is helping our clients articulate and preferably put in financial terms their goals. You know, how big do they want their turnover to be? How high do they want their net profits to be? How big do they want their take-home pay to be? How much do they want their net worth to be? How many hours a week do they want to be working? What percentage market share? You notice each of those are numbers. We can help them start setting goals and putting numbers on them. And of course, we're the numbers experts as accountants. And then we have a gap between where they are and where they want to be. And we create a plan to bridge that gap, and they think we're the hero. So goal setting is the second advanced service that we have to be factored into our plans going forward. Once we've got a goal and once we know where they are now through benchmarking, then you need to help them with putting in place the action plan to get from where they are to where they want to be, from their benchmarks to their goals. And that's when, so you need to factor in there the ability to help them with their strategic planning, the big picture plan, which will eventually turn into a business plan and then a set of forecasts and so on, but at a more granular level. But what's the 10-year strategic plan that's going to help you move towards achieving your goals for 10 years' time? And then help them with strategic planning, what are the key performance indicators, the KPIs, that we need to measure and monitor that are relevant to achieving that plan? So that's the next service, is becoming more experts in key performance indicator monitoring. And then once we put in place both the plan and the metrics, the KPI metrics, coaching and mentoring services, growth and profit improvement services, because they are bound to want input and help in those areas, and if we don't provide it, they're going to get it from someone else with less skills and less professionalism than us, most probably. And then, because it's fundamental, everybody wants a simpler and more efficient business. They want a business that takes up less of their time and improves their work-life balance. Then we can also, and should also, help them with their workflow and business process automation, so that more and more can be done by this wonderful technology that we're surrounded by, and less has to be done by them. Once we factor those advanced services into the range of products that we deliver, we are integral and fundamental to and instrumental to creating the life that they want to live. But we do that by using our skills with numbers, our skills as business people, our advisory skills. But this is an evolution rather than a revolution. It's actually, in all honesty, what I thought an accountant always did before I became one. It's what I had in my head when I decided to put myself through the pain of qualifying as a chartered accountant here in the UK. And we need to make sure that those things that we always thought the profession does, we actually do in a systematic way, and we communicate those effectively and put them at the heart of our marketing, the heart of our delivery, and the heart of our pricing. I'll show you how in a second. But there's one more advanced service, which is at the bottom of my notes there, which is broadening the support out from merely helping them with their business to actually helping them with the rest of their finances for them as a family unit. Because if you ask any business owner, you ask 1,000 business owners, 999 will say that their family is more important than their business. And if that's the case, then rather than solely focusing on their business, wouldn't it make sense to broaden our support, broaden our advanced services out to help them around their family finances, so they can financially forecast their family's position going forward right through to retirement, and make sure that those numbers stack up and they're in a position to help their kids with bank of mum and dad, get on the housing market and fund their education and so on and so forth, and still along the way afford the holidays and the cars and everything that they really want. accountants here in the UK in particular are really beginning to rise to that challenge of that as an advanced service, and it also makes a profound difference because it embeds us even more fully in what our clients want, not just business support, but support around the thing that matters even more, their family finances. Those are the, that's the A, those are the advanced services. We'll come back to the S and the H in the model and then give you the exact words to use to turn that into cash, but it's time for another one of the poll questions, Colin.
Poll question is now live. That'll be up for about 20, 30 seconds. About 5 more seconds. All right, I'm now going to close the poll question.
Fantastic, thank you, Colin. So we've looked at the core services, the things you must have mastered already. We've looked at the advanced services, the things you need to be factoring into your plans pretty damn quickly, which leaves us with the S and the H in my cap. I'm just trying to minimize my screen there. If I click that. Yeah, so the S stands for specialist services. These are the kind of services, they might be a piece of rare tax advice or rare corporate finance input or rare insolvency. These are things which if you try to be master of all of them before your client needs them, you're going to be bogged down in constantly learning and skilling and paying an enormous amount of money to employ hundreds of people so that you've mastered all of those things. The point is these specialist services are exactly that. They are too specialist for us as generalists to try and master. They're sufficiently rare that what we should do with them is not get distracted by them, not spend oodles of time and money trying to prepare our business so that we can provide those services and answer those questions, but deal with them on a just-in-time basis. Be aware of the fact there's an issue around a particular piece of tax or corporate finance or corporate recovery or whatever. And as and when that issue materializes, instead of trying to solve it ourselves from an in-house team, on a just-in-time basis, we identify a suitable third party who has genuine expertise in that, and we essentially team up with them. We refer the work, or in some other way, we get them to use their expertise to solve the problem on behalf of our client with a non-compete a relationship, a non-compete arrangement in place, contractual arrangement in place. In fact, what happens here in the UK is that many firms have identified a whole panel of third-party experts in particular areas of tax, VAT, corporate finance, financial services, and so on. And as and when one of those rare services comes up on a just-in-time basis, they introduce the third-party expert, who's very often a national expert, a leading figure in the field. That third-party expert solves the client's problem. That third-party expert charges the client a fee for that and shares the fee with the accountant, even though the accountant hasn't done the work, hasn't taken the engagement risk, hasn't really had to do anything other than identify the issue and introduce the third party. And that's the way the research suggests that you should deal with specialist services, rather than letting them bog you down and slow you down and knock you off the focus on the core services and the advanced services. So in order to really generate cash from this stuff, the core services you need to master, the advanced services you need to be factoring into your plans pretty soon, but the specialist services you can put to one side and you deal with them on a just-in-time basis by referring a suitable third party. And that really then just leaves us with the H. The H in the cash model, the H it stands for humanitarian. And this isn't actually essential. This isn't essential whatsoever, whereas the first three I think are essential. The humanitarian services are those services which, whilst not essential, will help lift your business to the next level. And in the case of the 62 businesses in the book, many of them work in conjunction with an initiative that Paul Dunn leads called B1G1 Business for Good. And those 62 firms collectively between them, at the time we went to press in the book, had made a difference to 9,653,329 people, or in 9,653,000 micro impacts. Sometimes it will be to a person, sometimes it will be to a square meter of rainforest replanted, whatever. These are 9 million micro impacts that these accounting firms have chosen to give something back, to do something over and above what they have to do, because it gives them an even greater sense of purpose. There's a firm of accountants here in the UK, for example, in the book, that every time they finish a set of accounts, they give a goat to a family in Africa, and that goat then becomes a sustainable source of milk, and when the goat multiplies, potentially a sustainable source of meat as well for that family that will help lift it out of poverty and make a real difference. So those are examples. One goat will be one of those 9 million impacts, by the way. So those humanitarian services are not essential, but they do make a very real difference. Actually, because I've got 10 more minutes, I guess, and we haven't had a chance to cover all of this in as much detail as it would have been ideal to. My 4 best books are all in a bundle that I put together exclusively and specifically for you guys today. The yellow book, the one that all of this is based on, is part of that bundle, plus its predecessor book, The UK's Best Accounting Practices, a book on how to get more referrals from bankers, and my most recent book, which I co-authored, Better Business, Better Life, Better World. All 4 of those books in digital format. They cost several $100s on Amazon, but if you use that link at the top, and Colin, if you would copy and paste that link into the chat box for me, that would be enormously helpful. And if people want to click through on that link, they can read about the books. All 4 of those books are available through that link until midnight on the 30th of June, so it's about 2 days' time. They come with a money-back guarantee if for whatever reason you want your money back. And for just $27 for all 4 of those books. And actually, as well as that, I will use that B1G1 Business for Good initiative, so that if you take a look at that website, I've got a counter on there, so I know how many people have clicked through on that link that Colin puts up. Then for everybody who takes a look, then that will automatically fund clean water for a week for a young child in Malawi, and if you choose to buy the bundle, then much of the proceeds will be used to fund clean water for life for a young child in Malawi, at my expense, but on your behalf as a thank you for supporting us in that way. So that's what happens if you click through on the link in the book. Let's now look at the best way to profit from the cash model. And I can do this very, very quickly. I've got 3 things I want to share with you. 3 things I want to share with you. Number 1, and there's a question that seems to come up in my chat box, so let me just see. Oh yeah, so it's not a question, but Colin has very kindly put that link in the chat box there, so you can click through on that link. If you click on the link, then automatically someone will get clean water for a week, and if you choose to buy the bundle, that will fund clean water for life for a young child. Okay, so let's come back to the 3 things. These are actually really effectively three questions that if you start using these questions when you meet prospects, it will change forever the discussions that you have with them. If I was sitting down with a prospect, this is exactly what I would say. I would say something like, let's say that the prospect is called Dave, because in my role plays the prospect is always called Dave. Dave, which would you rather have, an old style phone that just makes calls, or a new style smartphone? And actually pick up a smartphone and say something like, one of these new style smartphones that does so much more. Because almost everybody that you ask that question of is going to say, well, of course, yeah, I'd like I actually have in my pocket one of these smartphones, don't I? It's a whatever it is. And then you would continue with, so I imagine you choose that new style phone because it does so much more for you than the old style phone. In fact, here in the UK, some people are actually holding up their modern smartphone and they're holding up their Nokia, an old Nokia, traditional phone that doesn't do anything in particular. And then they say, imagine you chose that smartphone because it does so much more for you than an old style phone, like making life easier and better, don't you? And every Dave always says, that's exactly why I chose it. And then you continue with, and what's really interesting is that's exactly the same with accountants. New style accountants do so much more for you than old style ones. So you're using this comparison between phones, where they've clearly chosen the new style one because they understand the value, and now you're drawing that and connecting that up with accountants. There are 2 types of accountants, and new style accountants do so much more for you than old ones, including making your life easier and better. You're brandishing the phone, and they've already said that they agree. So then you continue with, let me show you what I mean. So that was the previous slide. Let me show you what I mean, because they'll be interested, and they'll be curious, and this will be a kind of conversation they've never had before. Let me show you what I mean. We help out. We understand that the key role of accountants in the 21st century is to help our clients get better data and do better analysis on that data so they can make better decisions, get better results, build better businesses, enjoy a better life, and collectively, when we all do that, create a better world. That's what we specialize in. Now, they'll be fascinated, they'll be intrigued, but they'll also be skeptical. So you then have to back that up by proving it. By sharing stories of businesses you've helped. And if you don't yet have stories, then borrow some of the stories from the book. Say, well, a business like yours or businesses in a similar situation to yours were helped by accountants like us. And then you talk about the stories in the book, not claiming that it's you, but saying, we do that kind of stuff just like the firms in the book do. So prove that you can make a difference through better data, better analysis and better decisions and into better results and so on by using stories, by demonstrating your software, by demonstrating how you can help, by playing around with sensitivities and by showing them how you could benchmark them and so on, by pulling up on screen some of SageWorks software. Wherever possible, by quantifying the impact. If you can show them that you could, by helping them do some extra tax planning, drive down their tax bills by $10,000, and by benchmarking, show them how to increase their profits by $50,000 a year, and maybe they're going to be in business for another 10 years before they retire, then you also extrapolate, say, well, 50 grand a year for the next 10 years, that will be $500,000, Dave, that we can maybe help you get. At that point, by quantifying, by demonstrating, by backing up with stories, by extrapolating, by putting numbers on it, 10 grand tax saving, maybe up to $500,000 in extra profits over the next few years because we benchmark you and work with you to improve your profits, they will be really, really intrigued and interested and in fact excited. And certainly, I'll just turn my screen off again a second now. So that's the first question. You use that comparison, and it's in the notes, that comparison between old style phones and new style phones, and then you move on to the second question to ask them, which is this. Having quantified and extrapolated that, you've got this 10 grand tax saving and this potentially £500,000 of extra profit over the next 10 years or whatever it is. You ask them, what would that mean for you? What kind of difference would that make? What would you spend the money on? And you get them to articulate, that maybe it's the car or the paying off their education loans, or they're setting their kids up in business, or they're paying for their an elderly relative to have appropriate care in later life, or whatever it is that's important for them, whatever they spend the money on. What would that mean for you? What would you do with it? And how would that make you feel? And they'll say things like, well, if I could pay off my student debt, or if I could set my kids up in a starter home, or help my mum get the elder care that she needs, I would feel fantastic. Now you've now got them to attach to this possibility of working with you, this idea of solving their problems, making their dreams come true and feeling fantastic, purely because you as a potential accountant understand this stuff and focus on this stuff and have talked about this stuff with them and got them excited about it. They will really, really want to work with you at that point. But just to reinforce that point, you asked the third question, which is this. That's the sort of stuff that we specialize in, Dave. Tell me, how does the stuff that we've looked at, the story that we've told, the focus that we have, how does that compare to the other accountants you're talking to? And the reality is none of the other accountants that they're talking to will have used this kind of language, will have understood the power that they can deliver. They won't have used the metaphor around the phone. They won't have quantified the impact. They won't have linked it back to achieving the goals that the business owner wants to around their kids and their elder care for their mum, or whatever it is. It may be a fast car or a holiday abroad or around the world cruise. There will be no comparison. You will be right at the top of their list of accountants they want to work with. And that's how you turn this into cash. Because if you communicate our value, if you communicate your value effectively, you can turn this stuff into cash. So I'm almost out of time. Let me give you a 5-step action plan that sort of summarizes what we've had, and I've had, 40 minutes? Yeah, 40 minutes or so. Let me give you a quick summary. The first step in your action plan is you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. I think, as I said, the profession has a massive crisis of confidence. Until we break free from that, until we understand the value that we can create, we will never look our clients in the eyes and ask for the right kind of price. Secondly, we need to focus our practices. You need to focus your practice on the cash model, on delivering those core services extraordinarily well, branching out into delivering those advanced services, having the panel of experts that you can refer those specialist services to when you need to, on the rare occasions, on a just-in-time basis. And the H element, if you choose to lift your practice to another level by also giving back in the way that many, many of those firms have done. So focus your practice on those services, put them at the heart of what you do, and then collect stories, your third action point. Collect stories of how you have made a difference to businesses by doing those things. And in the meantime, just borrow the stories from the book. Don't pretend they're your story, but just say, this is the kind of stuff that we can do too. And use those stories, number 4, as part of your proof to break through the skepticism which prospects and clients have about our ability to help them. By telling stories, you will break through that skepticism, you will open their minds, and they will want to work with you because they will see the value. And once they see the value, you can then price accordingly. And instead of being forced to come in lower at a low price or less than last year's accountant, you can look them in the eye and say, this kind of service actually costs a bit more money, and you can charge a value-based fee, or at least a higher fee than you would have dared to imagine before, because you've articulated clearly how you can help, and you focus that help on the things that really matter to them. Those are the 5 key steps to success, and those are the 5 key things you need to put in your action plan. But just very, very quickly before I pass back to Colin, there are 2 sources of help, 2 ways in which I'd love to help you with that stuff. I mentioned before that the World's Most Inspiring Accountants was published last year. I'm currently researching the next book in the series, which is called The World's Best Accountancy Practices, and whereas this one looked at the difference that accountants are making to their clients, the book, which will be the red book, The World's Best Accountancy Practices, red screenshot there, that will look at the things that accountants do to make their firms more successful. And I'm looking for firms in North America to feature in that book. Imagine being able to go into your marketplace and say, you know, we were featured in the book, The World's Best Accountancy Practices. How powerful is that going to be for your marketing? If you're interested in finding out more, just email me, steve@stevepipe.com, and I will send you full information about what's involved in that book. There's an entry form that spells out the kind of information I'll need from you so that we can consider whether to include you in that book. So that's the first way I'd be delighted to help you put you in that book. It'd be fantastic marketing value to you. And the second way, just to remind you, is if you want the book, if you can't remember everything I've said, you want to drill down more into the details, if you want this book and 3 of my other books, UK's Best Accountancy Practices, the referral book, and Better Business, Better Life, Better World. You can get all 4 of those books in digital format from that link. Colin, if you could put that back into the chat box again so it's easy for people, that would be really kind of you. It's up at that stupidly low price of $27 until the end of the 30th of June, 12 o'clock your time, and it also comes with a money-back guarantee. So, and remember, most of that money will then be used to fund the Clean Water for Life for a child in Malawi. And thanks, Colin, I can see you put that back in there for me. So if you click on that link, what will happen is it will take you to a website that looks like this, and below down on the screen is full details of each of the books. But the blue button that I've highlighted around red with a red loop around there, if you click on that link, it will take you through to the purchase page, which looks like this. You obviously put in your details. You also have to create a password, because what it will do then with that password is give you access to the back office part of my website, where I put the books and a whole variety of other things up for you in a readily available digital download sense. So that's why you need to create a password and then look out in your email box, because you'll get access through an email once you've bought it, if you choose to do. Okay, I have now finished. I know Colin's going to take questions at the end, but there's 1 or 2 other things that I think Colin wants to cover. I really hope that you found this valuable so far. Back to you, Colin.
Thank you, Steve. We're just going to share a couple other recent pieces of content that SageWorks put together. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so we released a collection of interviews and an ebook recently, and so what we did is we interviewed folks who specialize in technology and really understand how firms make decisions in technology. So this is actually, it's not about SageWorks. We are a tech company, so we know what we're talking about when it comes to technology, but we interviewed experts in the accounting industry, folks who are, think about people who have been consultants to top firms for 20 or 30 years, people who advise the AICPA, people who really understand how to make smart decisions when it comes to tech and advisory. So I suggest take a look at that. Again, it's 11 different interviews we've compiled into a few different chapters. It's not a very long read, but some good useful tidbits, some information on how you can improve your firm. I'll also send that around afterward. Also want to mention, for those of you who are thinking about potentially traveling or getting in front of more thought leaders and people who could help you, we have an event coming up here in Raleigh, North Carolina, August 2nd. It'll be a morning. You'll have lunch and breakfast. So you'll spend about half the day with us. It is limited to 50 attendees, and you see a little bit there on the slide, but there's also a link at the bottom where you can learn more about the event. It's our first event actually that we've done in a long time. So this is these are all people we've worked with here at SageWorks, and we'd love to do more of this in the future. So if you're interested, take a look at the website, and you can reach out to us at SageWorks if you have any questions on that. I'm going to spend just about a minute here giving a couple highlights on us and a little bit about two products I mentioned earlier. So ProfitSense is our flagship. It's been in the market for about 16 years now and helps thousands of accounting firms with advisory services. So if you're looking to expand or enhance your advisory practice, you want to generate an ROI, you want to really look at how to better help your clients improve things like cash and other financial performance metrics. We provide the analysis tools, but also the largest private company database, financial data in the United States for benchmarking purposes. So you can use our solutions to acquire clients, to show up smart in your meetings, ask the right questions, come with financial insights, because we can help you diagnose their businesses. We can run reports that look at their finances and immediately tell you how things are doing, what's working, what's not working, how they compare to the industry. So you can then go to those conversations with clients and really give some tactical, specific advice about how they can improve. We also have a business valuation solution that was modeled after the AICPA's best practices. They follow the SSVS1 guidelines. So if you're looking at doing valuation work, or maybe you're already doing it and you want to streamline that process, one of the primary benefits is really to save time. It can be about 30-40 hours for a true valuation, the way that a CPA would do that. And so what we do is we help you save time while still maintaining that high level of quality and consistency in your work, and put together reports faster, again, with still that high level of quality. So something else to consider if you're performing business valuations and you think it might make sense to save time, better improve your process, or maybe you're working across multiple offices and trying to better coordinate, save time across your team, or multiple folks working on each valuation. These web-based solutions can be useful in those situations. I want to throw out a few stats really quick, and then we'll wrap up here. We do a lot of research as we look at the industry and think about what could be, what could be coming up and what people are looking at. And we noticed the AICPA about 8 months or so ago now released a new certificate program around advisory services. And I've heard this from thought leaders, from association CEOs, from our customers certainly, and from other firms, enterprise, all the way down to sole props, that more and more accounting firms are being looked at as the best source of advice for businesses. They're trying to, the firms that are trying to figure out, and you all probably know this to some extent because you're on this presentation, but they're trying to figure out the best way to provide those services. So my favorite stat on here is actually the one at the bottom. 80% of the accounting market, this is based on the U.S., sees an immediate demand for advisory, which probably wasn't the case a few years ago, but from everything we've seen at SageWorks over the last 20 years, as this change has taken place, it's pretty clear that now there is actually an immediate demand, and so business owners are trying to figure out where to get their advice. Meanwhile, the accounting firms are trying to figure out how to better compete and provide really great service and high-value, sticky services that retain clients in a market that, frankly, is becoming more competitive. Client services really aren't as big of a revenue draw as they used to be, and business owners are getting those services elsewhere, and accounting firms are merging. It's been happening now for years, so we're trying to figure out how best to position themselves, and advisory can be a great way to do that as long as you're providing value to those clients. So just to wrap up here, and we'll get to the Q&A, I just have a quick poll question that I want to share with everyone on the call today. If you are interested in learning more about what we do here at SageWorks and see if we can be helpful to you, we like to talk to folks just to get a sense of what they're trying to accomplish. And so the first conversation we have is really just a chance for us to ask you some questions and you to ask us some questions, and it's very casual. There's no commitment or anything like that. It's really, we call them discovery conversation, because we want to see if we can help and better understand your strategy or what you're thinking about for your firm, what your challenges are. And if we can help, of course, we'd try to find a way to, but at the offset, it's really a question of, can we actually help you with our solutions? Can we deliver the ROI that you're looking for? And once you become a customer, at that point, you work with our customer success team for the rest of your time as a customer of SageWorks, and they're there to help you ensure that you are successful with the work that you're doing with us and leveraging our technology. We are on a subscription basis, so we look to have customers be successful for a long time. It's in our best interest as well as our customers' best interest. Thank you to everyone who answered that question. I'm going to go ahead and close it. And we have a couple minutes left here. I saw some questions coming in through the questions box. Let's go ahead and I will take a look at those. If you have other questions, please take a moment and put those into the questions box.
I've had a few emails through from people requesting the entry form for the book, and I will obviously, of course, respond to each of those probably realistically tomorrow morning, because it's 6 p.m. in this country, and I think my wife would like me to come for dinner fairly soon, but I know it's still lunchtime at your end, so that's great. Are there any other questions, Colin, for me?
Yeah, there was a couple here. I'll just really quickly. One is just kind of interesting background. So what was your process, and how long did it take you to come around to the cash model that you talked about today?
Well, the research project was about 2 years, and I contacted many of the leading software companies, cloud accounting companies around the world, but also many of the leading gurus and advisors to the accounting profession. I have an established reputation and contact base here in the UK, but not really known very much outside the UK, and I wanted to broaden out my research to a global context. So I asked the gurus and advisors to the profession around the world to introduce me to firms of accountants who they thought were doing good things, and we narrowed that down to the 62 that ultimately appeared in the book. That was a 2-year research project. Then once you've got all those case studies, once you've understood what accountants are doing, you then sift through that and try to identify what are the keys, what's at the heart of it, what are the recurring themes, and so on. And obviously they don't jump out as a cash model, but when I got them down on a list in front of me, actually it occurred to me that there's this nice classification, and I kind of forced it a little bit, the H in the cash model, humanitarian. Well, that's not exactly obvious. It's giving more than humanitarian, but humanitarian was close enough that made cash fit as an acronym. But the essence of the stuff that's in there, I think, hopefully resonates with everybody. Everything that we covered, I think you look back and you go, that's glaringly obvious, really. Obviously, those are core services. Obviously, those are advanced services. And obviously, we shouldn't try to do everything. We can't be an expert in everything. So there are some specialist services that we need to link up with third parties on a just-in-time basis. It's sort of, with the benefit of hindsight, obvious, but it hadn't been articulated before. And in fact, that's really, I guess, all of that research has got us to a position where no one's ever brought together and articulated the benefits that accountants can bring in a research-driven way before that book was published. Therefore, no one's been able to give us as accountants the ammunition internally to get our team excited and enthused and positive, and externally in the marketplace to pick up new clients because of it. So there's, in that sense, there's nothing revelationary. There's certainly nothing revolutionary there, but taken together, it really does change mindsets, and it really does change our ability to generate cash for ourselves from what we do and feel proud about it in the process. So it has transformational power, without a doubt.
And I know we're a couple minutes over here. I think one other quick question for you is simply, are the digital books available through iTunes or iBooks, or what format are they in? For example, are they PDFs?
The digital books in that bundle are in PDF format, which obviously you can play on Kindles and so on. If you buy them through Amazon, and some of them are available in Kindle format and Amazon, actually they're significantly more expensive. They're also available in hardback and paperback. The advantage of the digital version is that once you've got it, you can share it with your team more easily. And so effectively, I'm comfortable with you doing that. So it's much less money because there's no distribution costs for me at this end, and it means that we can make a difference to people through the water as well, but you can also then share it with your team. So everybody really benefits. The benefits are far greater if we go the digital route than if we cut down even more trees, really.
Well, thank you, Steve, and thanks to everyone who came today. It looks like there were a couple questions about Stageworks. I'm not going to get into details. If you are interested, my email is there. We'll reach out to you if you answer that poll question showing interest. But thank you to everyone who joined, and again, Steve, thank you for taking the time today. We really appreciate it.
My great pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. Look forward to the next time, Colin, and you guys have a great summer over in the US before we talk again.
All right, take care.
See you.